In this video, I'll be reviewing the Philips Dreamstation APAP machine, and I'll let you know if this luxury travel CPAP machine device is worth the extra cost. Now, if you're watching this video, you probably already know what sleep apnea and CPAP therapy already is. Sleep apnea is a condition where you are sleeping and you stop breathing. And as you stop breathing, your SpO2 or your blood oxygen saturation levels go down, which may cause a myriad of health issues. A common symptom of sleep apnea is feeling tired during the day after sleeping, gasping for air, choking, snoring very heavily, and just feeling really uncomfortable when you wake up from a night's rest. CPAP therapy is used to treat this type of sleep apnea condition where it blows continuous positive pressure into your airway, preventing any collapse in your airway such that you continue breathing throughout the entire night. Now with the Dreamstation Go, this is a travel CPAP machine or APAP machine. And with that means that it's not covered by typical medical insurance. Unfortunately, in Canada, I had to pay fully out of pocket for this device, and it's extremely expensive. Is it really worth paying this type of money to get a luxury device? The government considers this device to be luxurious because you can still bring your main CPAP machine on, let's say, a flight. According to most airline operators, medical device equipment such as CPAP equipment is not counted towards your personal carry-on, so there's no excuse to not bring your device. It's just really cumbersome to pack something that is so large and heavy. With a travel device, it's super convenient. You can just pack it up and go. You can leave your regular machine at home and you can just go about and just bring your CPAP therapy. So when you come home from a long flight, you know that your main machine is still at home and it's ready to go as soon as you get home. You don't have to set it up again. Anything that helps me stay compliant with my CPAP therapy is a positive win in my regard. And paying this type of money, it can be debated whether it's worth that actual cost. By reducing the friction and by promoting CPAP use when you're traveling, I find that this is quite a necessary purchase, even though it's very expensive. Personally, for me, when I was used to travel, I really hated carrying my large CPAP machine. Even though it didn't count towards my carry-on and I didn't have to really worry about the airline saying, oh, your luggage is too heavy, I still had it in the back of my mind that maybe a smaller airline would not respect this rule. So I was still kind of worried when I was traveling with my large CPAP machine. Not to mention, every time you travel with your CPAP machine, there is a risk of it being damaged or stolen. I wanted to keep my main machine at home and not have to deal with packing it and unpacking it every time. It was really annoying. I was doing a lot of research and I went through a lot of different devices, and I found that the Dreamstation Go offered the best type of uses because one, I was able to put any mask I want. This was one of the main features. I wanted to use my ResMed full quattro full face mask. And I noticed that the ResMed Mini, which is also a travel machine, which is something that I kind of compared to, that machine had a restriction to its own proprietary mask. And one of its masks, the one that's the full face mask, I actually tested before, was extremely loud. When I was using that mask with my regular machine, it wasn't the machine that was loud, it was the mask. Something to do with the air coming out of the mask. It was so loud I could not sleep with it. I immediately returned it. So I did not want to get the ResMed Mini, which was a competitor to the Dreamstation Go, because I wanted to use my own mask, which is really quiet. So that's one of the major benefits of using the Dreamstation Go. It's the ability to use any type of mask you want. The second thing I like about the Dreamstation Go is that you can actually add a humidifier. And this to me was a game changer because I didn't have to go out and buy those wasteful kind of humidifier packages that sit between your tube. Basically what it does, it helps trap condensed air called Humidex for the ResMed Mini. I thought it was very wasteful and very expensive to constantly replace this every time you want humid air through your CPAP usage. Funny enough, I did end up buying a heated moisture exchange, or HME for short. The HME works by capturing exhaled moisture and returns it to when you need it. I don't recommend buying this if you do end up buying the humidifier add-on. I thought I could save some packing room by not bringing my humidifier, but I found out that bringing my humidifier with the Dreamstation Go was not much of an hassle at all. My recommendation is to not purchase any heated moisture exchange if you're going to buy the humidifier. One of the things they said about the new humidifier is that you can use regular tap water, so you don't have to go out when you're traveling and you have to find distilled water, which can be really hard in some countries. However, I do recommend to stick to distilled water. I noticed that every time I used tap water, it left residue in the humidifier, which was really annoying to clean, and I'm kind of worried about the long-term effects of that on my machine. One thing I noticed on my humidifier was that there was this weird brown stain at the bottom. It seemed like there was some kind of mold or stain growing there, and I'm not sure it's from the distilled water or a poor design. Somehow water got trapped in there and it oxidized and rusted. I'm very concerned about this. I hope it does not contaminate the actual water. I will be talking to Philips about this and I hope that they can fix it. Another issue I had with humidification was how complicated the settings can be. At times it was completely dry. My mouth was really dry because the humidification wasn't working or wasn't configured properly. And there are other times where there was so much condensation, so much water building in my tube that there was a loud bubbling noise in my tube. You can choose between fixed or adaptive humidification, and what this configuration is trying to do is help you maintain enough water throughout the night. I don't like their crazy fancy algorithms that have adaptive humidification, so I just keep it to fixed and set the level to 3, and so far that has been working very well for me. If you don't buy the humidifier and you try to just go without it, I think you're going to have a difficult time, because I find using no humidifier kind of very dry to my throat. I live in Canada, so it gets pretty dry during the winter. So the third thing I really like about my Dreamstation Go is the included slim tube. Now this tube is a smaller tube, and it comes with all the necessary adapters so that you can adapt it to your larger mask. And I found that this tube was a game changer for me. I thought that this tube wasn't a big deal, but after using it for many weeks in a row, I've come to really appreciate the convenience of a smaller tube. Just packing it and just actually even using it was just so amazing. The flexibility of the tube, it's just amazing. I really like this slimline tube, and it's very light, it's very portable. Every time I switch back to the regular ResMed full-size tube, or even the medium-size tube, which is considered slim, I found it really annoying and bulky and kind of not as malleable. One thing I liked about the slim tube is that it didn't cause any breathing issues, it didn't make breathing more difficult, and it didn't add any extra noise. The fourth thing I really like about the Dreamstation Go is how quiet it is. Given that it's a smaller machine and given the physics of a smaller fan, it's going to be noisier than, let's say, a full-size ResMed S9. Typically, a full-size CPAP machine is going to be quieter than a travel-size machine. I found that the Dreamstation Go was the exception to this rule. And let's not forget that the Dreamstation Go allows you to use any mask. So you can use the quietest mask on the market. The whooshing noise when I breathe in and out through the machine was actually quite relaxing. So I'm very happy that the machine is very quiet, and to me, noise is very, very important for me. I get annoyed by this slight amount of noise, and this noise isn't high pitch or anything like that. Now, I just want to warn you, I had some really major issue with the noise of the machine. Now, by normal operation, it works fine, but I believe I had a defective unit. But funny enough, the defective unit soon became fine, and I don't know what the heck is happening. And I noticed a really high-pitched coil whine when I was breathing in and out through the machine. And I was like, what the heck is that noise? It was like, I don't know, it's just a high-pitched whining noise, something to do with the electronics. And it was very annoying. I was almost like really depressed because I've spent so much money on this machine, and now I can't even use it because it's this high-pitched whiny noise was kind of affecting my sleep. Now I could put the machine away, buried away, and it was kind of masked by having it further away from my face, but it still annoyed me. So I contacted my supplier. By the way, the supplier is called CPAP Supplies, and they're based in Canada. And the main guy, Jerry Mank, was really friendly. He was very helpful throughout this issue. So basically what I did is I told him about it. He said, okay, you know what, why don't you just return it and then we'll get you a new one. Funnily enough, as I was continuing using it, I noticed that the whiny noise went away. And that was very confusing for me because at first it was like very obvious. And here's the crazy thing. When I got the new device and I plugged it in, I immediately noticed the coil whine. I don't know if that's going to continue and progress to be better like my previous model, but I was very shocked by this. I was like, I didn't know what to do. So I wanted to keep my old model. So I sent the new model back. First model I got, the first machine I got, ended up being fine. It works perfectly fine. There's no more coil whine. So I don't know if there's a manufacturing defect. I have no idea if that's just how it works. Like you get it out of the box and there's a coil whine and eventually it goes away. That was very concerning. Please let me know down below in the comments if you do get the Dreamstation Go, if you had this coil whine and if it went away, because that was very confusing. Now, one question you might be asking, given that this machine is almost fully complete. It works with any mask and it has a humidifier. Can you actually use this as a full-time machine? And my answer is yes, I do believe you can use this as a full-time machine. In fact, given that my old machine is just a CPAP and that this new one is the APAP machine, which adjusts variable to my current conditions when I'm sleeping. Basically, you can set a range of your pressure from min to max. And if the algorithm of the CPAP machine will notice that you are struggling at a certain pressure, so it'll try to increase the pressure to a certain point. I find having the APAP machine more beneficial than the CPAP machine. So I actually want to use this as my main driver. And I'll post along, hopefully it lasts multiple years. The estimated time that a CPAP machine should last is about 5 years before it gets replaced. So I'm hoping that this lasts maybe half that, 3 years. You're not sure if, based on a smaller device form factor, that the fans may not operate just as efficiently as a larger machine, but I'm really hoping that it'll last the full 5 years. One thing about APAP versus CPAP, I noticed that the price difference between APAP and CPAP was almost negligible in terms of the whole price. It was about like maybe $50 extra. I recommend just getting the APAP because if you don't like APAP, you don't like the variable pressure, you can just set it to CPAP mode. One major con to this device, and it's almost a deal breaker for me, it's super annoying, was that the auto turn on and auto turn off does not work very well. And I've tested this on the 2 different machines and it's pretty consistent with or without the humidifier. So this is a major annoyance with this machine, and I really wish that this was fixed. So basically with my ResMed S9, which is my main CPAP machine, I'm able to put on the mask and just simply start breathing once. I breathe once, the machine starts. And then I take it off and I wait like maybe 10 seconds and it automatically turns off. With the Dreamstation Go, what I have to do is I put on the mask and I have to breathe very heavily, like 5 times, and then maybe 1 out of 3 times it'll turn on or something like that. It just doesn't work very reliably, and it's very annoying to have to breathe so hard. So I always end up having to press the button on the machine, the capacitive touch sensitive button, to actually administer the CPAP therapy. And likewise for turning it off, when I remove the mask, it waits 1 minute for it to turn off. So you can hear that annoying rushing noise, all the air coming out of the mask, and maybe your partner is sleeping with you, they're going to be annoyed by that. With the regular machine, the ResMed S9, it automatically turns off within 10 seconds. So I don't know why the auto turn on and turn off does not really work very well in the Dreamstation Go. This is something that I want to talk to Philips about and see if it's a defective unit or that's just by design. I can't stress how annoyed I am by this poorly implemented feature. Another thing that really annoys me about this CPAP machine is the annoying bright white LED light that is used to turn on the machine, turn it on and off, given the CPAP therapy. What I don't like about that is that it's really bright, and sometimes I'm not using my CPAP therapy. I'm just, want to go to sleep without it for whatever reason. That light is so bright and so annoying. I really wish I was able to turn it off. Now, if you do press the button and apply CPAP therapy, eventually that light will subside and it will get a lot dimmer, and then it wouldn't bother you. However, if you're not using your machine, that light is shining bright throughout the night and it's super annoying. So what I do is I actually put some electrical duct tape or some just electrical tape on it. Still doesn't break the functionality of turning the device on and off, and it covers most of the light. I do this a lot of my electronics. I put tape on the LED so I'm not annoyed by it during the night. Another thing that is subpar with this device is the software Bluetooth integration. I find that connecting this to my smartphone and using the Bluetooth app, the Philips app, to get my information, 1, it's extremely hard and it's kind of annoying to use the Bluetooth device. 2, the information that you get on from the actual device is very limited. So one thing I want to say about the software is that it's very complex. There are a lot of options you can use. Now, navigating through the menus is very nice and it's a smooth experience. However, understanding what each configuration, like the one I alluded to with the humidification being kind of complicated between adaptive and fixed mode, I find that I have to go to the manual a lot of times and try to understand what do these symbols mean. So I find the whole user experience of using the software on the actual device a little bit annoying and sometimes difficult to read and understand. I wish the software experience was a little bit better, but this isn't a deal breaker. Not so much as the bright light and the lack of turn on and off functionality, which was more annoying on the annoying scale. Now, if you want to get the information onto your actual computer, you can use a program called Sleepyhead. You can pop out the micro SD card, which can be a little annoying because you have to use, if you don't have long fingernails, it's very difficult to get the micro SD card because you have to push it to kind of eject it. You can use the included filter of the bottom of the CPAP machine to kind of press it and pop it out, but that's kind of annoying because taking the filter in and out is really annoying. Oh, one thing I want to mention about the filter is that it is washable, which is a really nice feature because you don't have to buy so many filters. So you can just take it out, wash it, let it air dry, and just kind of reuse it many times. Going along with the actual interface, I find that they included a USB-A type, which is really nice because you can actually charge any kind of device by simply plugging your USB-C cable into the device of the CPAP machine, and you can charge your phone. So that is a really cool feature, and I find that very kind of futuristic and very progressive of this Dreamstation Go. And one thing I do recommend if you do buy the device is definitely get the travel case. Now I got the medium-sized travel case because that allows you to fit the actual machine and the humidifier all in one. And the nice part about that is that it includes a washable bag, which you can keep your mask, your slim tube inside. So I find it convenient just to have these two little things. Oh, and one thing is that you can actually put the interchangeable power cord onto the back of the actual hard case. So that everything is just self-contained. Everything is all neatly put together. And it's just so easy to transport this device. Let's say you're going through security and you have to take out your CPAP machine because you always have to show it when you go through the security conveyor belt thing, kind of like your laptop. I found that just really easy just to take out my CPAP machine from the hard case. I really like that it uses a universal power cord, and the power cord is so light, so I don't have to worry about losing it because it's replaceable, and of course it's so light. One thing that a lot of people will compare this to is the ResMed Mini ResMed Mini CPAP machine. And people will automatically assume that the ResMed Mini is a lot smaller. But one thing you have to note is the power adapter is actually built within the unit. And that kind of gives it more of a cohesive one thing, like kind of your thing they're carrying, and you just have the wire and the mask and the tubing. So I don't know, I much prefer this. I think it's really small. It's still, it's still a big machine, the travel size CPAP machine. However, compared to my main machine, which has, a huge humidifier chamber and all that other stuff, and a huge, power adapter, it's just nice to have everything self-contained. So yes, I do think it's worth the upgrade for me personally, but you'll have to find out whether the cost is worth it for you. Well, one thing I want to say, the $1,300 to $1,400 cost does not include any mask. So you have to still pay that extra if you're trying to get into the system. So in conclusion, I find that given that it has a humidifier, you can use it with any mask, and it's relatively quiet, albeit for the little minor quality issue I had in the beginning when I started using the device. I think this is an amazing device. There are some qualms that I have of it, like the always on LED light, which is really annoying, and the auto turn off and auto turn on feature does not work very well at all, actually. Those are annoyances, and it's very expensive, so I kind of expect these annoyances to not be there. But at the end of the day, based on my research, based on all the other comparable travel devices out there, I think that this is the best one. So I do heartily recommend this device, and I'm very happy with it, and I hope that it lasts for a long time, and I use it as my main device. Going through airport security has become a lot more enjoyable for me because I have this really easy device to access. It's not very heavy. Traveling it is amazing. I do think it's something that you definitely want to invest in if you can afford it. Anyways, this video is not sponsored at all by CPAP Supplies or Philips. I went out and bought it with my own money. So definitely that's my disclaimer out there. All my opinions are my own. Thanks for watching this video. Please leave a comment if I missed anything. There was a lot to cover about this video. Travel cases, like all these things, all these accessories were part of the whole video review. I hope this gave you a conclusive kind of idea of how it works. Anyways, please give a like. It really helps our channel, and subscribe for more sleep apnea, CPAP, and sleep related type of topics. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.